21 black celebrities whose partners died of incurable diseases. Have you ever believed that fortune and fame could shield the ultimate stars from the most devastating human tragedies? The reality is far more terrifying. Even when hailed as an immortal icon or an untouchable powerhouse under the forgiving spotlight, these legends were entirely powerless as they watched their partners wither away. Behind the glamorous marriage and picture-perfect family, they were forced to witness a silent predator consuming the flesh of those they cherished most. They faced fame's crushing pressure while hearing the labored breathing of paralyzed spouses, battling the fear of stigma alongside an incurable death sentence. Prepare to uncover the heartbreaking truth of 21 black celebrities who endured absolute raw agony when their soulmates were struck by merciless diseases. The very first name on this list will shatter your heart. Sidney Poitier. The most telling piece of evidence from Valentine's night in 1990 wasn't the unsigned $3 million movie contract left on the foyer table. It was the dried, rust-colored bloodstain on the knee of a meticulously tailored tuxedo. For decades, Sidney Poitier existed as an untouchable powerhouse, the ultimate icon and the first black actor to win the Best Actor Oscar, forever basking in a forgiving spotlight. His union with Canadian actress Joanna was universally hailed as a glamorous marriage, effortlessly projecting the image of a picture-perfect family. But in the bitter winter of 1989, that golden illusion shattered completely. It began subtly with Joanna's hoarse whispers, escalating to a sudden, terrifying collapse by the bathroom sink. Doctors soon delivered an earth-shattering secret: an aggressive, spreading thyroid cancer. Almost overnight, their pristine Hollywood mansion transformed into a clinical purgatory reeking of antiseptic. On that fateful Valentine's evening, Sidney returned to a house engulfed in chilling silence. Sprinting up the stairs, he found Joanna face down on the icy wooden floor, a lamp toppled beside her, and blood seeping from the corner of her mouth. He dropped heavily to his knees, his own labored breathing syncing with her desperate, shallow gasps. This was absolute raw agony, watching a merciless foe slowly turn his vibrant wife into a fragile shadow of skin over bones. That night, he sat motionless in a bleak hospital hallway, paralyzed by unanswered questions and chilling speculation, terrified that the next document he signed would be her death certificate. Over the next 2 torturous years, the treatment bills soared past $500,000, acting as an invisible punishment that aggressively wiped out their life savings. Sidney entirely turned away from the cameras, crushed by the realization that no amount of prestige could bribe the Reaper. The stain on that tuxedo was never washed out, a permanent, cold affirmation that the universe does not negotiate with fame. Yet even as Sidney willingly sacrificed his hard-earned fortune to buy a few more breaths of hope, an even darker fate awaits those who find themselves simultaneously physically shattered and financially drained, trapped together on a single bed of utter despair. Curtis Mayfield. They lay in the same dimly lit room, 2 immobilized souls waiting for a merciless foe to decide who would take their final breath first. Althea, with clumps of her hair falling onto the sheets from aggressive chemotherapy, gently gripped the stiff, unresponsive fingers of her husband, a man whose spine had been violently shattered. Just a few months earlier, this very same man was an untouchable powerhouse, the fiery king of funk who ignited all of America under the dazzling stage lights. Curtis Mayfield believed his musical crusade and his spirit were invincible. But that golden illusion entirely collapsed in August 1990 when a massive lighting rig crashed down on him during a Brooklyn concert, transforming a blazing artist into a motionless shell in mere seconds. Then came the ultimate sudden drop. A devastating 4 months later, his fiercely loyal wife, Althea, was diagnosed with late-stage ovarian cancer. Her body rapidly deteriorated into skin over bones, forced to endure her own raw agony in the afternoons while still trying to administer Curtis's medications every morning. Their picture-perfect family dissolved into a clinical nightmare, their home a desperate shelter drowning in crushing medical debt. When outsiders questioned why she didn't leave to spare herself from this invisible punishment, she rasped with labored breathing, "If I have to die, at least I want to die right here next to him." In the end, the loudest, most triumphant anthems cannot rewrite the cruel fragility of human flesh. Yet, while this couple found a fragile solace in sharing their physical decay, others discover that the deepest torment emerges not from an unyielding organic disease, but from a toxic kingdom where emotional starvation and cold neglect silently orchestrate the fatal blow. James Brown. The entertainment machine operates on a ruthless currency, constantly feeding on the silent suffering of those hiding behind its greatest icons. Adrienne Brown was never merely a wife, She was a collateral casualty in a kingdom built on dazzling stage lights and unchecked megalomania. While the godfather of soul set arenas ablaze, Adrienne was suffocating inside an invisible punishment, acting as a human shield against his violent, raging storms. The glamorous marriage they projected to the world was a sickening double life. Crushed by fame's crushing pressure and the relentless abuse of a profoundly toxic romance, she desperately sought refuge in a silent predator, morphine. By the autumn of 1995, the public's insatiable hunger for tabloid fodder completely ignored her raw agony as she was rapidly wasting away. Her radiant frame deteriorated into a frail shell, her labored breathing a stark symptom of acute heart failure. Yet, the systemic cruelty never paused. Even on her deathbed, she was served divorce papers, a heartless eviction from the empire she sacrificed her sanity to sustain. On December 19th, she collapsed on a cold stone staircase, a syringe in hand, utterly consumed by an unfillable void. Her official cause of death cited emotional distress, but the true killer was an industry that allows legends to sing of love while their partners die in agonizing isolation. The ultimate price of proximity to monumental glory is a quiet, unnoticed extermination. The suffocating chill of expiring unloved beside a musical giant is a bitter phenomenon that seamlessly infected the sovereign of romantic melodies just a few years later. Barry White. On the night of February 23, 1998, amidst the dazzling stage lights of Paris, the maestro of romance crooned, "You're the first, the last, my everything," to a sea of weeping fans, bathing in an absolute golden illusion. Yet, exactly at that triumphant summit, an earth-shattering secret was unfolding thousands of miles away. As the crowd roared, his wife of 2 decades, Glodian White, lay sliced open on a cold operating table, battling a malignant grapefruit-sized ovarian tumor. This was the cruelest peak of a toxic romance, where the ultimate love song echoed over a dying marriage. 4 years, their picture-perfect family was merely a facade masking her unfillable void, driven by his rumored infidelities and her desperate reliance on heavy sleeping pills. While he commanded the forgiving spotlight, an assistant quietly slipped a surgical notice into his tuxedo pocket, which he casually dismissed to continue the show. Glodian woke up from the 6-hour procedure entirely alone, her body rapidly becoming skin over bones, her lustrous hair falling out in clumps from the harsh medications. The only solace she received from the man whose voice supposedly healed millions was a shelf-bought bouquet bearing a generic, "Get well soon" note. The separation was profoundly quiet, avoiding an immediate public disgrace without a legal divorce, yet leaving Glodian as a neglected shadow within his sprawling empire. Does monumental fame inherently demand the total sacrifice of basic human empathy? A cold bouquet of flowers delivered to a sterile room can never stitch back a shattered soul, much like a beautifully penned ballad possesses no power to halt the agonizing biological wars violently erupting within the bloodstream of another forgotten muse. Smokey Robinson. The descent of a glamorous marriage can often be measured in cold, merciless numbers. For Claudette Robinson, the collapse of her golden illusion began with a single, unyielding fever of 102 degrees, soaking her sheets in night sweats. Soon, the statistics of her raw agony exponentially escalated. 0 ability to hold a pen due to violently inflamed joints, and 3 agonizing miscarriages, each one a dark blood clot instantly cutting off a fragile life. Her husband, Smokey Robinson, the poetic soul of Motown, could write 1,000 gentle love songs under the dazzling stage lights, but none of his melodies could alter the catastrophic data on her medical chart. Diagnosed with systemic lupus erythematosus, Claudette's own immune system became a silent predator, launching an all-out cellular assault on her blood vessels, lungs and kidneys. The physical toll was horrific. She lay curled up, gasping for air as fluid drowned her lungs, her skin bruised and hypersensitive. The ultimate sudden drop occurred in a sterile operating room in June 1975, when a doctor coldly delivered a 0% chance of ever successfully carrying a child. That single digit finalized the destruction of her maternal hopes, leaving behind a haunting, unfillable void. As Smokey returned to the grueling arithmetic of tour dates and fame's crushing pressure, Claudette was left wasting away in a vast, empty mansion, calculating her survival entirely in daily doses of heavy painkillers. The mathematics of chronic illness spares absolutely no one, systematically subtracting hope until nothing remains. Yet, while one partner slowly evaporating in a sprawling estate is a devastating equation, the arithmetic of tragedy reaches its absolute nadir when 2 bodies in the exact same house are simultaneously condemned to unyielding neurological and organic prisons. Richard Pryor. By the winter of 1991, the colossal comedy empire of a true powerhouse had completely devolved into a grim sanctuary of double afflictions. Richard Pryor and Jennifer Lee were trapped in an unprecedented sudden drop where illness not only ravaged their bodies but violently shattered their golden illusion. Jennifer, fighting aggressive ovarian cancer, was rapidly wasting away, losing 30 pounds in a horrific 2-month span of chemotherapy until she was merely skeletal. Simultaneously, Richard's nervous system was ruthlessly hijacked by multiple sclerosis, a silent predator that stole his legendary expressions and reduced him to trembling weakness. The profound raw agony climaxed on a January night when Jennifer collapsed. Richard, confined to a wheelchair, was entirely incapable of lifting his dying wife. Their bizarre cycle of divorcing and remarrying was a desperate survival strategy within an agonizing reality where neither could save the other. Ultimately, true imprisonment is realizing your own failing body cannot rescue the love of your life from theirs. The chilling realization that profound love cannot outmaneuver an autoimmune assault mirrors the quiet decay that quietly eroded the fortress of another universally trusted Hollywood voice. Morgan Freeman. The cold oxygen mask clung tightly to Myrna Khalili's face in 2006, serving as the only fragile barrier against a silent predator. This sterile ICU machine became the mute witness to the devastating sudden drop of Hollywood's most comforting voice. Morgan Freeman and his wife maintained a picture-perfect family, but systemic lupus was secretly launching a biological war, permanently destroying 40% of her lung capacity. The unfeeling plastic recorded Morgan's despair as he rushed back from European film sets, standing entirely powerless while Myrna lay gasping for air. No soothing cinematic monologue could halt her raw agony or reverse her labored breathing. As condensation from weary exhales fogged the medical tubing, the apparatus silently observed their resilient bond succumbing to sheer exhaustion. A quiet separation leaves a tragic, unfillable void. Far more destructive, however, is a severe psychological fracture that violently weaponizes a household, morphing a domestic sanctuary into a horrifying cage of explosive trauma. Al Green. Long before physical violence erupted, a silent predator consumed Shirley Kyles's mind. The Memphis Soul King basked in a forgiving spotlight, but his wife drowned in the invisible punishment of severe PTSD and chronic insomnia. Fearing the explosive rage of their toxic romance, Shirley huddled nightly in a kitchen corner, reliant on heavy tranquilizers to endure the raw agony of absolute terror. She filed multiple domestic abuse complaints, repeatedly withdrawing them out of paralyzing fear, trapped in an unfillable void. She ultimately confessed an inability to determine which terrified her more, her illness or her husband. A soul perishes from unseen trauma long before the flesh breaks. Yet, while one artist's shadow destroyed his home, another music giant willingly liquidated his entire empire, attempting to halt a malignant biological thief. Isaac Hayes. The choice to dismantle an empire begins with one terrifying diagnosis. As a musical powerhouse, Isaac Hayes basked in a golden illusion of invincibility. But when his wife, Adjoa, faced a merciless foe, advanced breast cancer rapidly invading her ribs, the ultimate toll was demanded. Isaac systematically sacrificed his entire fortune, liquidating his beloved vintage cars and mortgaging their sprawling mansion to fund grueling treatments. He traded the dazzling stage lights for the raw agony of midnight vigils, quietly watching her slip into chemo-induced slumbers. By 2000, the illness stole her into a coma, leaving him entirely bankrupt. Yet, he willingly surrendered every penny just to protect his only family. This profound material sacrifice stands in stark contrast to a legendary union violently destroyed by sheer, invisible psychological paranoia. Marvin Gaye. The most chilling artifact of their toxic romance was a small knife Anna Gordy gripped nightly behind a bolted bedroom door. While Marvin commanded the forgiving spotlight, a silent predator of severe paranoia entirely consumed his wife. By 1975, their golden illusion dissolved into raw agony. She hallucinated assassins, her panic attacks triggering such labored breathing that Marvin often feared she was dead. This invisible punishment culminated in a vicious 1977 trial, morphing into tabloid fodder. On the witness stand, Anna confessed a desperate suicide attempt, utterly crushed by an unfillable void. A mind tormented by unseen terrors inevitably leaves a permanent dread. However, psychological decay is just one method of marital destruction. Another sports giant faced absolute ruin when cancer forced his partner into a self-imposed exile. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. At the absolute zenith of his career, An NBA titan believed his staggering physical dominance could defend his family against any threat. But when Habiba, his deeply private wife, received a devastating death sentence of rapidly spreading thyroid cancer in 1976, that towering golden illusion collapsed. The merciless foe systematically ruined her, turning her into a frail shadow gasping for air on hospital floors. Kareem canceled countless games, desperately trying to shield her from the raw agony, but Habiba ultimately chose to walk away, refusing to become an invisible punishment on his legendary legacy. He was left in an unfillable void, questioning his own powerlessness. True strength is entirely irrelevant against cellular rebellion. Yet, an even more terrifying biological collapse awaited a legendary performer whose wife encountered not one, but two lethal pathogens simultaneously. Sammy Davis Jr. The absolute ruthlessness of a predatory industry ensures that once the dazzling stage lights fade, the families of true icons are often thrown directly to the wolves. Althea Davis, wife of the legendary Rat Pack trailblazer, found herself enduring a double death sentence. In 2003, nasopharyngeal cancer crushed her vocal cords, but the ultimate public disgrace struck in 2004 when she tested positive for HIV, instantly turning her into brutal tabloid fodder fueled by racial prejudices and chilling speculation. Left with a crushing $7 million tax debt after Sammy's passing, she was forced to auction off his legacy, ending up wasting away on a rented, cramped bed. Overwhelmed by the fear of stigma surrounding the century's plague, her final whisper confessed that dying in dishonor was her absolute greatest humiliation, leaving an unfillable void. Yet, this devastating public degradation mirrors the terrifying panic of another sports legend's wife, who suddenly found her life upended by a dual viral and malignant siege. Magic Johnson. The illusion of an unassailable picture-perfect family can shatter with a single tactile discovery on a routine morning. In 1991, Magic Johnson's HIV diagnosis exposed them to the terrifying fear of stigma surrounding the century's plague, plunging Cookie into a nightmare where she feared touching anything in her own home. But their sudden drop deepened on April 18, 2005, when she discovered a hard lump beneath her breast. Early-stage breast cancer instantly shattered what remained of their golden illusion. As treatment protocols were coldly listed, Cookie stared at her husband, her hands trembling so violently that her glass slipped and shattered on the floor. Her emergency surgery fell precisely on their 13th anniversary, leaving her waking in recovery to a seeping wound and absolute raw agony. 4 years, her life became a toxic math of antivirals and hormones, trapped in an unfillable void while constantly bracing for the next blow. This endless cycle of biological dread under a celebrated roof closely mirrors the silent suffering of another athletic colossus whose monumental baseball triumphs could never liberate his household from a cruel, creeping physical paralysis. Hank Aaron. The mechanical gears of the automatic lift hummed with a sterile shudder, a heartless replacement for the roaring engine of a sacrificed sports car. This unfeeling apparatus witnessed the absolute ruin of a golden illusion. While crowds roared for 755 home runs, the legend returned to a silent house where lupus acted as a silent predator. By 1982, Billy's joints were so swollen she couldn't lift a spoon. Their sudden drop peaked when Hank found her paralyzed on the bathroom floor, permanently confining her to a wheelchair. Trapped behind invisible walls, she endured absolute raw agony, her skin pale from immunosuppressants. Hank told jokes, but her eyes held an unerasable exhaustion. Yet, physical immobility turns a home into a silent fortress. A far more chaotic horror erupts when twin addictions aggressively poison a family from within. David Ruffin. The mind can become a silent predator long before the flesh collapses. While David's career collapsed under a severe cocaine addiction, his wife Sandra quietly unraveled in a psychological hell. The golden illusion entirely vanished by 1978 as she fell into severe depression, needing tranquilizers to survive the day. Their toxic romance took a horrific sudden drop in November 1981 when neighbors found Sandra motionless on the floor next to empty sleeping pills, with David sobbing beside her. She survived, but the overdose caused neurological damage, leaving her unable to work and plunging them into raw agony and debt. Mental ruin leaves a permanent prison. Yet, while an overdose broke this household, another legendary singer had to barter his iconic voice, singing through tears to buy a few more months of life for his cancer-stricken wife. Percy Sledge. The absolute cruelest metric of a fading career is desperately calculating how many concert tickets equal one more round of chemotherapy. Percy Sledge possessed a voice that defined an era, bathing in a golden illusion, yet he was completely powerless against a silent predator. In 1995, his beloved Rosa was handed a death sentence: terminal lung cancer. Their most harrowing sudden drop occurred during an August benefit concert. Rosa sat skeletal in a wheelchair backstage, her hair falling in clumps, apologizing for forcing him to sing to pay the medical bills. He poured his absolute raw agony into every note, hoping to delay the inevitable. The money only bought a few extra months before she passed away in 1997. Percy was left alone in a silent house, haunted by an unfillable void. When financial desperation collides with an incurable disease, the tragedy is absolute. However, total ruin accelerates when the battle for survival is actively sabotaged by the devastating grip of intravenous addiction right beside the sickbed. Sam Moore. The most damning evidence of domestic ruin was a single syringe dropped carelessly by a decaying curtain. While Sam Moore chased a chemical high, his wife Joyce was devoured by a silent predator. Severe diabetes stole her vision and forced a leg amputation, reducing her to absolute raw agony. During her midnight seizures, Sam was entirely too dazed to help, hiding in the shadows. When police stormed their Florida apartment in 1988, they found Joyce in a diabetic coma while Sam rummaged through his heroin stash. They instantly became brutal tabloid fodder, a golden illusion permanently destroyed by a horrific sudden drop. The cold truth is that addiction murdered their hope long before the illness did. Yet, while one family collapsed from a preventable poison, a far more sinister cruelty unfolds when an unpreventable cancer simultaneously sentences both a husband and a wife to a shared, suffocating deathbed. Eddie Kendricks. Clinging to an iron hospital bed in early 1993, gasping through morphine-scented air, he rasped his final question: "I don't know what we ever did to deserve dying like this." The devastating sudden drop began when his wife, Patricia, received a death sentence of late-stage breast cancer. The merciless foe consumed her so rapidly she couldn't even dress herself. As Eddie arranged her chemo, a silent predator struck him: lung cancer. Their picture-perfect family dissolved into raw agony. Waking up wheezing next to Patricia's limp, bandaged body, they lay paralyzed, waiting to see who would expire first. Patricia died first, leaving Eddie utterly shattered. A dual extermination leaves behind 0 survivors. Tragically, this shared decay is merely a prelude to the horrific spectacle of a musical genius actively ignoring his withering bride for another chemical escape. Ray Charles. The most damning evidence was the fresh syringe resting in the genius's hand. In August 1989, a housekeeper opened a door, instantly shattering a golden illusion. Ray Charles sat motionless in a narcotic haze while his wife, Della, lay on an 4-bed, reduced to skin over bones. Diagnosed with late-stage breast cancer, she spent 3 torturous years wasting away. Ray maintained a chilling double life, singing tender lullabies before secretly injecting heroin to escape the stench of her raw agony. When Della died, he shed 0 tears, clutching her leftover painkillers to mask an unfillable void. Chemical numbness permanently erases empathy. Yet, while one artist used narcotics to flee the sickbed, another legendary vocalist completely sacrificed his career, willingly standing guard in the dark until his soulmate's very last breath. Levi Stubbs. At the exact moment the 4 Tops prepared for a monumental anniversary, Levi Stubbs walked away from the dazzling stage lights. When his wife, Klein Ice, received a terminal lung cancer diagnosis in 1998, the golden illusion meant absolutely nothing. The sudden drop transformed their Detroit home into a makeshift hospice. He rejected every tour, enduring the raw agony of listening to her labored breathing and taping injection reminders to the walls. On February 4, 2001, she died on their old wooden bed. Kneeling, he buried his face in the blankets until dawn, trapped in an unfillable void. He completely sacrificed his legendary voice, yet no melody could ever save hers. Relinquishing all earthly prestige to fiercely protect a fading partner stands as a breathtaking sacrifice, one that perfectly mirrors the ultimate sorrow of our final Hollywood icon. Diahann Carroll. It turns out loving with all your heart only leads you to the greatest pain. She whispered this to an empty bed on October 12, 2002, having just held the lifeless hand of her husband Vic Damone. As the first black actress to win an Emmy, Diahann once commanded the forgiving spotlight within a golden illusion. But the sudden drop came when a silent predator, prostate cancer, invaded Vic's body. His bones became so brittle they fractured from merely bumping the frame. Abandoning every studio offer, she moved into a cramped apartment to personally bathe him as he was wasting away. Her legendary glamour dissolved into raw agony, proving that even ultimate Hollywood royalty is powerless when true love demands its agonizing, final sacrifice. After witnessing these 21 tragedies, you realize the golden illusion of fame is merely a fragile mask concealing absolute despair. Hailed as immortal legends, they still sat entirely powerless beside sterile hospital beds, watching merciless diseases steal the ones they cherished most. Which of these heartbreaking fates shattered your soul? Leave a comment below, and subscribe to uncover more hidden Hollywood truths that remain in the dark.